I do believe Pip is the voice of reason with this roster. His voice was definitely needed the last episode. Someone else wrote in and said something similar to that effect. I actually agree with Dijon. I love everyone equally. I can compliment and criticize the whole cast without second-guessing my thoughts. Sure, Dijon at times could overthink a topic and or create a scenario that has nothing to do with the price of milk. Pip, I can honestly say, is close to show perfection. In other words, he balances his personal opinion and beliefs well. The best part of turning into the show is hearing the different perspectives. So when I hear Dijon asking what's the purpose of bringing up a sensitive topic to discuss when at the end of the discussion she is just going to be dismissed, I couldn't understand it as well. There's a million things that trigger people into reading reacting a certain way. I just didn't think what Dijon said or how she replied was a reason to respond to her in that way. Okay, this is hard. I'm trying to decide whether I want to reply point by point, read the whole thing, and then come back, or whatever. What do you think I should do? You think I should just do the whole thing?
Yeah, just finish reading it.
Okay, because then I'm going to miss, but I know if I do it that way, I'm going to
come back.
When I come back, I'm going to miss stuff. I just didn't think what Dijon said or how she replied was a reason to respond to her in that way. She gave a generic, safe, and understandable opinion that was disrespected because of a trigger. Yeah, I'm not buying that. I mean, obviously, she wasn't the only person that noticed it. She wouldn't have gotten the feedback, including this feedback, if it wasn't obvious. I think a lot of folks tune in to hear the authentic emotions and views. At the same time, we hold y'all accountable for how the chemistry and views are respected, a one-time thing. But I'm probably the only listener bold enough to point it out, especially if it was more than once. We all witnessed the episode when she damn near cried half of the episode. I'm smart enough to understand the age gap and the life experiences, but that's not an excuse as well. Again, sometimes Dijon can drive me up the wall with her wild takes, but to ask a co-host why would they come back to do the show after a disagreement is a cop-out to me. Not something I expected from a show I've been a fan of for half the last decade. A lot of shit triggers me, but I don't react off of harmless opinions because of something I'm personally dealing with. I sent this in writing form because not all my feedback is meant to speed up for laughs. A real fan, BTG. P.S. Said it with my chest after leaving the gym. Okay, so Didi, I'm going to let you say what you think about this first, and then I will go ahead and reply.
Well, I just want to say that we love you guys. We love y'all for listening and writing in, and we love all of your feedback. So thank you. Thank you guys for reaching out to us and letting us know how you feel. We definitely appreciate that. I think that we got to I love BTG. I do. And we don't take you for a joke, BTG. And thank you for what you said about me. We are good now. Everything is good. And I just hope that we could just, move forward.
Okay, so let me start with this. Let me go. Let's see. Where do I start? I wish I had done it the way that I wanted.
Tune into the last show as usual. I never say it in my feedback, but I do pay attention to a lot of things that goes on inside the show. Chemistry is everything when you have a podcast that has multiple hosts a part of it. Even though
Pause.
Okay.
I want to point out that BTG is a podcaster, but he is a solo podcaster. So, listening to a podcast that has multiple hosts and doing a podcast that has multiple hosts, yeah, talk to me after you've done that for 6 or 7 years like I have. And then be so hard on every word that's said on air.
Yeah.
And see how that works for you.
Right. But I think he's coming from a place of love. He's not coming from
I think most of it is from a place of love, but I think part of the reason why I felt, for lack of a better word, triggered or whatever it was when I read this, I felt some kind of way, was because the tone of it feels a lot like that group that I don't fuck with. There's a black group of podcasters that on Facebook and the internet and whatever else that I'm friends with some of them as individuals, and I was a part of the group, actually one of the people who started the group back in the day. But I don't really fuck with that group because they are very judgmental and they really come for people. It's the same group or a couple of people in that group. Remember earlier this year, or I can't say this year anymore, earlier last year when Chaz was very upset about somebody coming after him because he liked Kevin Hart? Remember that?
I think so.
Well, yeah. Well, the people that came after him or came for him were a part of this same group that I don't fuck with. And that's the reason why is they do stuff. It feels like there's sharks swimming around and your mistake or what they perceive as a mistake in your part, whatever, is a drop of blood in the water, and they just come for you, and they just pounce on you, and they're so self-righteous and judgmental, and it's like, I'm not here for that. You know what I mean? I'm not about that life.
Well, I don't think this is what BTG was doing.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that's not what he was. And I definitely feel like he's a better dude than those people.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I love BTG too. I've met him in person. Whatever. So, but I think that might have been why I took it so hard the first place, because it reminded me of that, and that the tone of it felt like that to me. But now, as I sit here, I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't bother me at all, but it doesn't bother me like it did when I first read it.
Right. Okay.
So, okay. Go ahead. You continue.
Even though there's not one single fall off when one person is missing, I do believe Pip is the voice of reason with this roster. His voice was definitely needed that last episode. I actually agreed with Dijon, and I love everyone equally. I can compliment and criticize the whole cast without second guessing my thoughts. Sure, Dijon at times could overthink a topic and or create a scenario that has nothing to do with the price of milk. Pip, I can honestly say, is close to show perfection. In other words, he balances his personal opinions and beliefs well. The best part of tuning into the show is hearing the different perspectives. So when I hear Dijon asking, what's the purpose of bringing up a sensitive topic to discuss when at the end of the
Okay, so I think that's part of where the disconnect was. I don't disagree with that statement from you or from Dijon, BTG. But I think my intent for bringing it up was less about discussing. Not that I was against discussing it, but it was less about discussing and more about me venting. That was more my reason for bringing up a sensitive topic than it was for it to be a point of discussion. But I already know anything that's said here is up for discussion. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying as far as my intents. I wasn't thinking, oh, okay, I'm bringing this up so everybody can chip in. Although a part of me obviously knows that it's a talk show and that's what it's for. The other purpose of this show, as I've joked about many times, it's therapy for me, where I get shit off my chest, and what bigger thing to get off my chest is than the stuff that's happening between me and my wife and my home life, which, by the way, I really don't do as much as I would like to, just, out of respect for her, because she would have a total cow if I really let loose. That's the one area where I kind of, I keep it real without giving a lot of, because I feel like I'm real with you guys and honest about our relationship and don't sugarcoat it. But at the same time, I don't reveal a lot of details because, she's not down with that. And so I have to respect my wife when it comes to that. And I don't. But this was something that I could kind of, I was dealing with or whatever. And I put it up there to kind of vent and whatever. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
At the end of the discussion, she's just going to be dismissed. I couldn't understand it as well. There's a million things that trigger people into reacting a certain way. I just didn't think what Dijon said or how she replied was a reason to respond to her in that way.
The definition of a trigger, and if you don't know, like a trigger for me is a trigger for me. It's individual by nature, by definition. So, of course, your trigger and my trigger is not going to be the same because we're two different people. So I felt like this was really this statement. This whole part just should have been left out because it doesn't make any sense.
For me, it makes it. For me, I agree with BTG. I agree. Like it's like it's a million things that's going to trigger you. But do that mean that But does that mean that you have to do that to me or talk to? You know what I'm saying? So I see what he's trying to say. I see that what he's trying to say.
Well, okay, he's trying to say that. He also said that he also put himself into it and say that wouldn't trigger him. Well, it's not about you, and it's not about your triggers.
I don't know. I didn't read that part. Maybe are we there yet?
I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect. I'm a human person, and we're doing this live on the air or whatever, and I was triggered. That's not an excuse, and I really don't give a fuck if you buy it or not. It's not for you to buy. I don't need to make excuses to you or anybody else. And I'm saying it with my chest. I ain't been to the gym, but I'm saying it with my chest, BTG. I don't need to I'm a grown-ass man. I don't need to make excuses to nobody.
All right, but you're not, I don't think that he's saying that you're making excuses. I think he said that what you said was an excuse.
Now you're getting into semantics.
I'm not. I'm just looking at what's written here.
So
I think that's probably the reason why he wrote this, so that it wouldn't be no semantics, so there wouldn't be any confusion.
So what
he never said that anything that would have triggered him. He said that I gave a generic, safe, and understandable opinion that was disrespected because of a trigger.
Because of a trigger? Question
your
mark.
Trigger,
right?
Not his trigger.
Dejan. He says, "Yeah, I'm not buying that." Okay, that's part of what I just got through saying.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm gonna have to explain everything I say to him to you now. Like,
no,
he said,
but
I'm not. He said, "I'm not buying that."
I just think we got to take it with a grain of salt.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Because first he's coming at me. Now you coming at me for me responding to him.
I'm not coming at either one of you. I'm not coming at nobody.
You are defending him.
I'm not defending him. I'm just trying to point out
I'm saying
to you
stuff that's not in there. I mean, I know what I'm reading.
Okay.
So this is a lot, and it's all jumbled together, so it's hard to find stuff. I should just did it the way that I wanted to in the first place. There are a million things that trigger people and to react a certain way. I just didn't think what Dejan said, whatever replied, was a reason to respond to her in that way. She gave a generic, safe, and understandable opinion that was disrespected because of a trigger. Yeah, I'm not buying that. I mean, obviously, she wasn't the only person that noticed it. She wouldn't have gotten the feedback, including this feedback, if it wasn't obvious. I think a lot of folks tune in hear authentic emotions and views, which is what you heard and now are complaining about. At the same time, we hold y'all accountable for how the chemistry and views are respected. I could see if this was a one-time thing, but I'm probably the only listener bold enough to point out, especially if there was more than once. We all witnessed the episode when she damn near cried. Okay, we'll circle back to the other thing and stop at this for a second. That episode where you cried or was nearly crying in tears. Do you remember what that episode was about and when it was?
It was last year, and it was about a disagreement that we had before where I didn't feel like I was being a whole 100% a part of the show.
On the air?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think that happened off air.
We had a discussion about it off of the air.
When you were crying on the episode, I believe that was when we were talking about the rape and rape culture.
We talked about that one too.
That's the one that when you were crying on air. The other thing happened, we stopped and we had a discussion off air, and you were crying then. But on air, that the public knows about, I'm pretty sure that was when we were talking about rape culture.
Okay. I remember that one too.
Right. Now, we were having a discussion and a disagreement, respectful, nobody, not heated. Well, I mean, slightly heated, but it wasn't out of control. And it was about rape culture and things like that. I disagreed with you and Pip, and you felt don't stop me if I'm putting words in your mouth or what happened, whatever. But I felt like you were crying because it was bringing up bad memories of bad experiences. Am I wrong in that? Were you crying because of something I did or said? Because all I was doing was giving my opinion about rape culture, which you disagreed with, but.
Well, I had to shut the whole thing down because I felt like you weren't hearing what I was saying. And that's just how I felt. Like I just had to just go in that way because of that reason right there. Like, I'm not trying to, like, your opinion is your opinion, and that's fine. But